The Great Graniteville Library joined the Federal Depository Library Program in 1989. We are one of almost 1,200 depositories which provides free access to government information for the citizens of our community. Providing information to the citizens of the United States began years before the country was established. Our nation has long believed in the people's right to be informed of the day-to-day operations of the federal government. The Federal Depository Library Program was an evolving process created over time by Congress through the legislations of laws and regulations, which eventually resulted in a nationwide system of depository libraries. Providing government documents to the people began with the Government Document Number 1, which was created by the Continental Congress in 1774. The 6 3/4 inch by 4 1/4 inch public notice decreed that merchants and others not accept the importation of British goods. The nation's founding fathers believed in the people's need and right to have knowledge in the government's activities. Both Thomas Jefferson's and James Madison's writings refer to the necessity of an informed citizenry. Jefferson wrote, "Whenever the people are well informed, they can be trusted with their own government, that whenever things get so far wrong as to attract their notice, they may be relied on to set them to rights." And in a letter written to W.T. Berry in 1822, Madison wrote, "A popular government without popular information, or the means of acquiring it, is but a prologue to a farce or a tragedy, or perhaps both. Knowledge will forever govern ignorance, and people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives." The first congressional resolution to formally distribute government documents was legislated in the Act of 1813, which authorized the distribution of one copy of the House and Senate journals and other congressional documents to universities, historical societies, state libraries, and other institutions. At that time, the Secretary of State assumed the responsibility for distributing publications. The earliest known depository was the American Antiquarian Society in Worcester, Massachusetts. The next major change in dissemination of government information came as a result of the Printing Act of 1852. It provided for the appointment of a superintendent of public printing within the Department of the Interior, and the election of public printers for the House and the Senate. The Joint Committee on Printing was empowered to mediate certain disputes between the superintendent and the printers and to use any measures necessary to address neglect or delay in public printing. Additional changes were enacted in 1857 when the responsibility for depository distribution was changed to the Secretary of the Interior. He was also authorized to designate libraries to receive publications. Then in 1858, a joint resolution of Congress allowed each representative the ability to designate a depository from his district as well as the delegates from each territory. In 1859, each senator gained the authority to assign one depository in each state. Congress had been attempting to create a centralized printing office since 1818. Finally, the 1860 Printing Act authorized the Superintendent of Public Printing to execute the public printing himself and to purchase the necessary buildings, machinery, and materials for that purpose. The Joint Committee on Printing was directed to set standards for paper purchases and to approve major procurement of supplies by the superintendent. On the day of Abraham Lincoln's March 4, 1861 inauguration, the Government Printing Office opened for business. It was the Printing Act of 1895 which collected and organized all of the existing printing laws. This act centralized printing, transferred the Office of Superintendent of Documents to the Government Printing Office from the Department of the Interior. It also provided for the addition of executive department publications to depository distribution and the addition of libraries from the executive departments and the military academies. Since the Printing Act of 1895, Congress has continued to make changes to the Federal Depository Library Program. Throughout the 20th century, the Federal Depository Library Program has continued to grow and evolve. The onset of the information age required Congress to enact the GPO Electronic Access and Enhancement Act of 1993 to provide more federal information online. In the 21 years since the Electronic Enhancement Act, the volume of federal documents available online has steadily increased to the point where only a small portion of the thousands of documents produced are still available in print. The document production of the Government Printing Office has changed to the point where the GPO has requested changing its name to the Government Publication Office. In 1986, the staff at the Greg Graniteville Library began to explore the possibility of becoming a depository library. However, due to the legal requirements of the Federal Depository Library Program, there were no available openings in our district, the 3rd District. The GPO suggested negotiating a swap with the Thomas Cooper Library at USC Columbia. Thomas Cooper was one of 4 senatorial designated libraries, and there was an opening for a representative library in Columbia, which resided in the 2nd District. USC gave up their senatorial depository status, and Congressman Spence simultaneously nominated Thomas Cooper for the 2nd District Representative Depository. Senator Strom Thurmond nominated USCA for the vacated senatorial depository designation. The application and approval to become a depository took nearly 3 years, with the official designation as a depository coming on August 7, 1989. The designation of the Greg Graniteville Library as a depository library came through the efforts of many people at the University of South Carolina, Aiken, including the library director Frankie Cubbage, librarians Rebecca Carmichael, Paul Lewis, Chancellor Robert Alexander, and many others. Since 1989, the USCA Federal Depository has been managed by Paul Lewis from 1989 to 2010 and Kathy Carmichael from 2011 to present, along with the able assistance of Government Documents Assistant Stan Price since 1997. As government information has evolved, so has our collection. We have less print materials on our shelves, but because of digital access, citizens have unlimited access to both federal and state information, with the staff at the University of South Carolina Aiken Depository ready to assist the community with their government information needs now and for the next 25 years.